Well, hello there, Gary, and Understanding Bigfoot, and Brian. Poor guy, sweet and low box. That's awful. You know, Brian, I do love you, though. But people still don't believe me, Debbie, when I tell about that story about Brian, especially in the paranormal field. Thomas, guess why? Hello there. Welcome, Debbie, and everybody that's starting to filter in. So how are y'all doing?
You're
Doing good. Yeah.
Hey, we're doing great.
Good. Everybody had a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good to have the gang back together. Mike's here.
I'm not going to
I'll
sing.
tell you,
So.
good to be back. Good to be back.
Yeah, we really actually missed you. A lot of people were asking about you, too, by the way. I didn't get to tell you in the green rooms. I came in and, I thought that said something else. I was like, who's putting that up on there? But we actually, Chris did that giveaway, and people, I don't, That's only for the live streaming. So if you're watching the replay on all these different platforms, and thank you all the admin and moderators that are broadcasting the show tonight. So thank you.
Yeah.
Because we're in a lot of groups tonight. So Lorna, hello there. But I also want to say, I told Chris this earlier today, but I didn't get to explain. So I reached out to some manufacturers that supply. Hello there, Facebook user.
I think that's Russell.
Hi, Russell.
I think so too. I was
So
about to
Russell.
say.
Russell.
And his book came out too, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
So,
Yay.
but I reached out to these manufacturers that supply all these government officials and police departments evidence collecting stuff, and we're talking. I mean, if you want to trace a bullet path, I got a kit for it, right? So it comes with lasers and it's ballistics, everything. It's just what we use on the police department. And so I reached out to them for a purpose, is to try to assemble something for Bigfoot investigators to take out in the field to collect evidence the proper way, whether it's fecal matter, Brian, DNA, hair, bones, teeth, whatever you come across, tracks, whatnot. And so I start talking to them, and they're like, well, what do you want to use this for? Because I'm trying to build a kit.
Right.
And they were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's for Bigfoot investigators. And they're like, what? What'd you say? And I'm like, so I hit them with my title, my credentials. And they're like, oh, okay. Now, okay. So I'm trying to assemble a kit that's affordable, and I probably have to buy a stockpile of them at once, which I'm prepared to do that for the community, but I'm trying to make it affordable for the average family, son, daughter, mother, whoever, to take this out in the woods to, if they do find something, to teach them how we do it, but also have the proper tools and techniques. So I'm also looking at plaster that we used on the departments as well, whether it's tire impression plaster or cast material, whatever. So it's going to be, I'm working on it. At first they were like, this guy's nuts, right? But then I was like, okay, here's who I am, and here's my paperwork for the company and everything. And they're like, oh, okay. He's like, this guy's serious. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, is there going to be a minimum, And I was like, I don't care about the minimum. I just wanted to make it affordable. What's your all's thoughts?
I think that's a great idea.
Don't forget to add fingerprinting to that, because we've seen so many people have that, show up on their cars. And
I'm already one step ahead of you. I looked at fluorescent magnetic. Speak of the devil, magnetic fingerprint powder, which is something very simple to use, and especially with alleged handprints, palm prints, fingerprints that we've seen, they're very oily. So this is something that a novice can use. I always say a rookie. The peanut butter, right, Thomas? I know. If I told these companies about Brian, they would probably wouldn't even talk to me. But
I think he'd be sponsored by Sweet and Low by now. I was going to
say, I think so too.
But so I'm looking at different things, but I don't know. I kicked it around because I see what people's using, right? And it's like, well, why can't they have the same resources as law enforcement and FBI? So, but it's trying to make everything affordable and something that's easy to use and it's easy to comprehend for the average person. So, which you don't have to have training, and anybody can lift fingerprints. All it is practice. And I've got a kit that's like $1,200, and I can lift prints off all kinds of stuff. Oh yeah, I mean it's fancy. Wow. And we had a problem in the civilian world, and hey Luna, and they wanted to catch his organized crime ring, and I was like, just order this, and I'll get it. They're like, what? And the big wig was like, whatever he wants, Grizzly wants, just get it. And he got the bill for it. And I was like, that was a entry level. I was like, what I wanted was like $2,700. But to make a long story short, I set up product in the store, and it was an empty box. Only thing I wanted was, guess what?
Fingerprints.
That's it. And once the person touched it and realized it was empty, I was like, I got him. And because I know most of the times people that steal things or are involved in whatever crime usually have a record, which have on file. So I lifted the prints and gave them to the department. The department was with me when I lifted them. They're like, how'd you learn this? I'm like, it's not hard, because there's different powders for different services and different magnetic, whatever. But we apprehended them. $295,000 out of 2 stores.
Whoa.
Wow.
And it went across 5 states. And this organized crime ring would go to Mike, be like, Mike, I'm going to get you a job, and this is what you're going to steal. Chris is going to come in, you're going to hook him up. And oh man, I got awards and everything. It's just like, it's nothing hard. It's once you learn, right, how to do things. So, and I thought about it because, I think one of our shows that we had was talking about evidence collecting, and a lot of people didn't know about biodegradable blood, urine, whatever, about paper and plastics, and why we use different ones and how to preserve it and what deteriorates the samples and whatnot. Yeah. And people are like, well, I didn't know that. And it's like, ooh. So we kind of did a little educational on that. And I think it helped people, is what, they told us. But I don't know. I thought about it because there's little dorky kits you can buy off Amazon, right? And it's for like your 8-year-old kid. It's cute, right? It comes with a little magnifying glass and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're out there and you actually think you actually got something good, and if you know how to collect it and preserve that chain of custody, right? You got it half licked, so nobody can debate it. I mean, it'll come with, stuff where you can seal it up and you can't break it to seal like we do and submit it in evidence. And you can actually ship this stuff off to labs and get it tested. So I was going to try to reach out to some facilities that do testing and be like, But once again, when you say Bigfoot, they're like, what?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
But if y'all want to put anything in the comments, let me know you're all's thinking. I was thinking maybe some flags too, which I threw out like probably 800 flags. I had pink, yellow, blue. I had the little things for shells and stuff on the ground. And it's just something simple, something that's economical, for the
I like the flags idea. Especially like when we had that whole instance where we had a whole bunch of footprints and we were casting some, and then after a while you're stepping around, you're like, okay, what one was our footprint, what one, so you flag them ahead of time and you know what you're looking at, take pictures. I mean, that's a good idea too. I like that one.
It's just a thought, and it's just to help the community out. But it's just, if the stuff's available, if you got the pockets, that's the problem. But Facebook, Russell says, or somebody says, good idea. It's just a thought.
It is a good idea. Yeah.
But can you imagine if Brian had this kit and he did everything like he should and sent that off, and they're like, what the hell is this? I don't know. You tell me. Right. So, but I also, ladies and gentlemen, I found out too, check with your local veterinarians. They do DNA testing. You'll be surprised. Either they do it in-house or they send it off to a reputable lab. So, and it's not that much. I was surprised. Some of them range from $150 to $400. Depends on, I hate to say it, the size. But
yeah.
But anyways,
just a little slice of the pie. That's all.
Yeah.
Don't need the whole thing.
And then the problem with that is, though, like you said, but then you get, like it's inconclusive, and there's a couple $100, potentially. But that's a great idea. I love that's a great idea.
Yeah,
couple hundred's better than a couple thousand.
That's it.
Yeah.
That
much better.
Yep.
I like to find a place where it's going to take people seriously.
Yeah.
And they're not going to just be like, look, like Barb said, inconclusive, right? Whatever. Now, it's not a bad thing don't tell me the dolls are laughing, Thomas. You know, but it's not a bad thing when it comes up inconclusive. It's just it to me it strengthens your evidence that you collected, right?
Right.
Because it's not coming back bear, deer, or a mixed animal or mixed breed. So
you have solid evidence. They don't know what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and you know, different departments when it comes to fingerprint. The first time somebody showed me Sasquatch fingerprints, I was like, "That's real." And they're like, "How do you know?" I was like, "That's not human." I was like, "I know what human fingerprints look like. That's not." And the pattern's totally different. And I wish I had pictures to show people. But ours are swirls, right?
They kind of go side to side, don't they?
Yes. Yes.
The dermal ridges are.
Yes. Yeah. And because people were making fun of somebody, like, "Yeah, look at this," and I'm like, "No, that's you. That's not fabricated."
Legit.
Yeah. And I was like, "I've never seen one, but that's not human." And people were like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then I showed them some latent prints that I lifted just off a piece of paper. And they're like, "I had no idea." And it's like, because you don't know. You know, I have training, law enforcement has training. You know, if you study stuff, you'll know. And that's why we're here, is to help educate. I live in the forest. I may ask our veterinarian. I have Bigfoot hair, see? That's what I'm saying. So, yes. And sometimes you may want to tell them what you're doing, because they may not even charge you, is what I was told on a few. Now, don't hold me to that.
Yeah.
Everybody jump on the bandwagon and think he's going to get it free.
Right.
But some of these people are into this phenomenon too, and they're like, "I want to know."
Yeah, they might be just more than happy.
Yes.
More than happy.
Toss it in. So, but yeah, definitely check with them, because if they don't do it, they know where to send you to get it done.
Yeah.
So, and if you do have whatever you think that information or evidence that you have that you collected, and want to talk to us, we'll be more than happy to talk to you and go over it with you, and maybe, you know, sponsor you on a show and tell your story. Yep. So, wood hanging things like CDs, pop pens. Oh yeah. So I even told Mike to use flour at one point to get footprints. I remember that show, Mike?
Yeah.
Something that's it's not going to be like, "What the hell is this?" Right? It's just something. It's just like people use baby powder in the paranormal field, right?
Right.
It's just small things. Yeah, CDs, anything that you can lift prints, and Google how. And there's videos out there to teach. It's not hard. I like the magnetic powder. It sticks a lot easier, and it's a lot simpler to use. The regular black powder, it's very messy. The magnetic powder, you just swirl it around and it just sticks to it, and the rest of it comes off on your brush or your magnetic tip. Remember that game that little magnetic pen with the hair?
Etch-a-Sketch.
That and one little shavings where you put beards on the face.
Yes.
Same concept. Same concept. So but CDs, all that pie pans, all that stuff would work.
Yep.
Only thing you have to do is just clean it prior. That's the catch. Because when I used to have other agencies teach the officers how to lift latent prints, we would always, in the beginning, take the roster when you sign in for training, and we'd pick that up and we would dust the back of it, because they pass that paper around class, and you can see everybody's prints on it. And all it is Scotch tape. You can lift it and preserve it on an index card or whatever piece of paper. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So, but if I can get it worked out, I'll disclose it and share it with the community and see. So, Harley just took some of your information and sent it to the group too. So we're thinking about maybe doing a Sunday show for you, and we'll get with you offline. Harley's got some very interesting encounters. Mike knows about it, and Barb and Chris does too.
Grizzly, a couple of weeks ago when we had Kitty Busby on the show, we used some of Harley's audio that night. It was hot off the press at that point. He is just getting it released.
Yeah.
And having Kenny comment on it, because he's heard similar type audio and had recorded at his place there in Arkansas. So that was Harley's audio we were comparing it to. And
that's awesome.
So we're going to get Harley on and do a special show with him and talk more about his stuff. And we're looking forward to that.
Yes, definitely. Oh, that's fantastic.
So, Harley, I did take your information and submitted it to the group because I wanted this group to take the case with you, right?
Yes.
A couple of things that really disturbed me is that the testimonial is how people lose friends, families, and whatever else in society in their life, right? And I told them, it's sad, but it happens. He was a non-believer, and I'm not going to speak too much for him. I'll let him tell his story. But it really, when you're out there working in the woods, in the field, and I'll let him explain what type of work he does, and you come across something like this that you never encountered or wrapped your mind around, right? And you're like, what the hell is this? Luckily, he had a device, his phone, to record it and capture it and take pictures of the prints and tracks while he was out in the woods. And I think Chris brought up a good point. We were talking offline and maybe doing a segment on one of the shows about what, Chris?
Doing some what is evidence? Right?
Yeah. Oh,
so because a lot of people have a great story and great encounters and pretty good evidence, but when you find something, right? I always tell people, paint a picture. I don't know anything. So when you're like, look at this, what are you tying that evidence to? What creature or what phenomenon? What are you basing it off of, right? Paint a picture to the general public and give a backstory. I was outside Bigfoot hunting, and this is an area I found tracks in this area, and I come across ABC. It gives it more teeth to sink into what you're displaying. And a lot of problems I'm seeing is when people are telling their encounters and stories, people are asking a lot of questions because they don't understand, and they're taking it as an attack. They're like, you're questioning me, and I'm just trying to, no, they don't know what's going on. What's the content?
Some clarification.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I mean, that's why we all have that discussion, and when people present stuff, we should have that natural curiosity to want to know a little bit more. So the more you can provide, the less questions are asked. But doesn't mean we shouldn't ask some questions anyways. Just out of curiosity, right?
And I told Chris this, people getting into the moment right now. If, when I tell my encounters, I always give a little backstory to bring people up to speed because I never had an electronics fail out in the field. I never experienced that. And I always go back to that day before the show. I thought I lost my expensive camera before we went live. And I was really upset. Lost everything. Yeah. And the year, date, and everything was messed up and it wasn't working. I never encountered that. So when you do, present evidence, give a little backstory and try to, when you take pictures of out in the field, like he did, he put his boot next to the trap for comparison, right?
Right.
And that's awesome. Yes. So because when I got the pictures of the prints in the park, I didn't know I had two sets of prints until somebody else was like, you got an adult and a juvenile. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? They're like, look right next to it. Yes. And I didn't know. And that was in the middle of a park at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, ladies and gentlemen, in an area where I shouldn't have been. I was off the path. But, once again, I didn't have anything down there. I was in the heat of moment. Somebody was with me, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm Bigfoot hunting. I got tracks. I don't know what the hell this is, right? I'm in disbelief. And I'm trying to take a picture of it. I'm like, come on.
We're supposed to be playing disc golf. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do that with the bad back. That is
Bigfoot, right? Bigfoot.
So, but you get in the heat of the moment, and I see a lot of stuff out there, and a lot of people get discredited, I think, out of the gate because it's like, it's Bigfoot related. Well, why do you think it's Bigfoot related? And I just think it's a good topic to explore and to help people. Just like collecting DNA, right? Alleged DNA or evidence. People didn't know about plastic and paper. And like Chris, keeps telling me, people don't have your mindset. And like I told him, well, that's what I've been instilled with. So if I can help and share, I will. And then that's where we should come in as a group to educate people. Because if some millionaire comes up to Chris Hensley and says, you got hair? I want it. And let's get it tested and see what what are you going to do? I want you to be like, yeah, I got hair and this is how I collected
got it in this plastic baggie.
Yeah, right. It's useless. But, it's just people do have evidence. I know for a fact Brian's got it in his freezer. How the G-Man hasn't come and confiscated that, I have no idea. Because I've actually talked to somebody that allegedly, I'll say that, had encounters, and it was documented, and the person came forward and alleged entities got involved, and now the person's missing. And I'm like, okay, so I did my part interviewing the person, right? And I wish I had the software, I would give it to you. But there's a handwriting analysis software where you can copy and paste somebody's words, and it will tell you a lot of good things if you don't know how to do it. And it's pretty wild. But, and it's like they provided the evidence where they posted it and got taken down, and I'm not going to mention that one person's YouTube channel, remember, wiped out. And it's just, people can be touched. I mean, look at the giants on the mountains, alleged whatever, and people come forward. Look what I got. Next thing you know, they're gone. Yeah. And it's like
that. What was it? TikTok guy that had that problem, right?
Two different ones.
Yeah.
They're talking about your shirt there and your hat.
Yeah.
So, but
representing.
You just do not know, ladies and gentlemen, who you're going to come across. And, there are people out there that do want to learn more about whatever these things are. And there are people out there with money to fund this. And we've talked to people before that's been approached by organizations and big companies because how they investigate and how they collect things. And they're like, what would it take you to do this full time? And they're like, what? Yeah, you heard me. What would it take you to do this full time? And that means quit your job and you come work for us.
Well,
doing your thing.
When do I start?
So, and people throwing out numbers and they're like, that's it? And they're like, is that too much? No, we're expecting a lot more. So, yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, it can actually happen.
Yeah, I think we should clarify though, right? That this isn't like the normal, right? Like this is the norm.
But people
think,
notice
I can get,
No, people notice you in public, okay, and what you do on Facebook. You're being monitored. I'll tell you that, okay?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What you investigate, what you document, and what you do, and how you carry yourself. And people look at that. Not only TV production companies, whatnot, and so forth, but I'm talking private corporations that will reach out to people that prove themselves credible. And I know one person, which you all know, I won't mention him or his group, but he has NDAs, and everybody on his team takes polygraph examinations twice a year. One on evidence and one on character and moralizations and so forth. And if you don't pass both tests, you're out. And your NDAs are with a law firm and everything else. So that's how serious some of these people are out there investigating this phenomenon. And they are getting funded just because of that process that they do. So, and they told me, we had no idea. We were just wanting to be something different than everybody else. And when we did come across something that's possibly related to whatever phenomenon we're involved with, we wanted to make sure nobody could dispute what we had. And I was like, that was a nice approach. He's like, well, we learn from others' mistakes. And it's like, it's a perfect learning curve right there. And so is it possible? Yes, it is. Now, like Barb says, are you going to be a millionaire like everybody thinks? No. And it's not the case. But if the opportunity knocks, you already set the bar up for yourself and your group or your investigators, whatnot, and people notice that. And even though you don't think that, you know, not everybody comes on our shows, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of people I don't even entertain. You got to meet certain criteria and whatnot and other stuff. And I won't go into that live, but there's a process. And same thing with Mike, Barb, and Chris doing their own shows, you know. And I still get hell from some people like, why? What about me? I didn't want you. All right. So no, you know, being funny.
No,
you know, I believe in people, and I said this on one of the shows. Abraham Lincoln, I use as one of my signature notes in my emails and my iPhones and iPads is that I'm a success today because I had a friend that believed in me, and I didn't have the heart to let him down. And I've used that for 20 something years. And that really resonated with me when I read his books years ago, because that's how I got success, because somebody believed in me. And when they gave me that opportunity, I'm like, man, I'm not going to screw this up because I've seen everybody else through the line. Right. Mm-hmm. So, but it's just food for thought. And if we can help people as a group, you know, to learn and educate us. You know, if it wasn't for people's encounters that are coming forward, like Brian's and everybody else's, you know, we learn because you're all experiencing that, not me. And when we get thousands of these reports and we can go to people's databases, Facebook groups and whatnot, and ladies and gentlemen, some of it's really out there, but I'm not there. So
right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So what's like you said, you stopped drawing a line in the sand, remember? So
yeah, I did. I had to.
I'm glad.
So,
I'm glad.
Barb, what's going on at your house?
Well, no, I just wanted to add to that. You know, it was first of all, guys, yeah, it was a fantastic show. I love the message on Monday night when you guys were basically saying, you know, we are not here. We cannot shut people down and say, no, that's not what you saw, or no, that's because I don't believe in that. That is not what that is. Or, you know, because you have not experienced what I've experienced. Everybody is entitled to their opinion. And that is the quickest way to get people to shut up and not give their evidence, not offer their evidence, or even not their findings. Like, it's not even necessarily, you know, they don't even know if it's evidence. But the quickest way to do that is just to, you know, shut people up, is just to right away just kind of attack them. But then by the same token, like, you know, my Facebook page is I want people to, everybody's allowed to submit whatever, but you have to also, like you said, you have to give some detail. Like, don't like post a picture and go, what do you think of this? Or here you go. That's opening it up to speculation. But you have to have, you do have to have a little bit of a backstory. You know, you can't show a broken tree and go, well, it's obviously from Bigfoot, you know. But I do love the message. It's so great that Harley's here, because Harley, we just talked about him a couple weeks ago with Kenny. And, you know, when Grizzly shared that with us tonight, not on the show, but, you know, back, and I said, wow, I've heard that before. And then that was what it was, because that is a fantastic audio. Like, wow. So.
Yeah. And, you know, with the tree breaks, right?
Yeah.
You look at it for somebody with no experience at all, and I hate to use the word possible, is it possible? But what ties that to whatever you're doing? Well, I found tracks in the area, you know, before or previously or recently.
Right.
And you have pictures, you know, in the past in the area. You know, when you start chaining things up, you know, like a train, it's harder to poke holes through things or somebody's encounter, or just like, oh, well, Grizzly's everything's Bigfoot today, you know. And unfortunately, that syndrome's out there, and that pollutes everybody else's encounters and their evidence when they bring things forward, because, oh, it's in the tree break and it's Bigfoot. You know, well, what breaks it 8.5 feet up in the air? Yeah. You know, God, nature.
You know, or why is it broken? There's no other trees around that are fallen that have possibly broke that tree.
There are,
you know, you got to look at everything.
Weaker trees that didn't break.
Right. Or you got tree bends in the area, you know, that indicate possibly something. So that's what we're referring to, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And I think that it will help out a lot of people in their posts where they're not going to get ridiculed or be on the defensive when people are like, well, what made you think that? Why are you questioning me? Well, because you're putting something out I don't understand.
Right. You do have to,
and people get on the defensive automatically. And and a lot of people don't realize that. And I was just about to say that there are other things out in the woods.
Yes.
That we do not understand.
That's
and
right.
Barb's got videos to prove it. And when I show people your evidence, they're like, that's fake. And I'm like, she don't have the technology. I don't know how to do that.
You guys, you know that. I can't even.
And they're like, so you're going to stand behind it? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. They're like, well, damn, if he's standing behind it, then we're going to take another look at it. And it's hard to understand that. Twisted
Bigfoot World Cryptids had said, let me show this. And I agree with this. I hate when other researchers bash the way other people research. I agree. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what I'm saying. If I can share some of my techniques and knowledge that I used to use or law enforcement uses, I'll give you the resources and outlets to learn. It's free. But when I thought about Brian, I can't help every time I say Brian's name, but when I thought about Brian, Brian didn't know how to collect things. And, a lot of people don't. I was like, well, maybe there should be something I can do to help. And that's when I trying to reach out and, give it a whirl. So, but
this is hilarious.
So, and I feel bad because every time I say Brian's name, I laugh, right? And I'm not laughing at Brian. It's just the first time he told the story, I was like, is this for real? I mean, this guy's telling me I ain't going to be graphic. And I'm like, and he put it in a what? And then he showed it on air and then he got in trouble live. That's in where? Your deal is like, it's labeled right here. Look
you
at
have
it.
that in my freezer?
I mean, yes.
Sorry, honey, I didn't tell you.
Yeah, well.
But with Brian's defense, how many other people has come forward and said, I got some too. And it's in my freezer.
Yeah.
And we're like, what? And it's more common than what we thought, or I thought. Yeah. And it's like, well, I never went out in the woods and looked for piles of that. And so every time I go out, now I'm paying a little more. I know what deer scat looks like and bunnies and raccoons and all that other stuff because I'm a country guy. But hey, God, where have you been, Godhead Testify? Welcome.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
It's been a while.
Well, you got to be careful when you're out in the woods because you might just trip over it. It's so big.
And slip and fall and ruin some good boots. So
I was surprised when I saw it at the Bigfoot Museum in Cherry Log, Georgia. They had one in a display case the display case is 3 foot long.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they took the whole thing.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Christmas trees hanging up in there. And let me tell you something. For all your dopers out there, get them off your rear view mirror and you're going to get pulled over. Anyways.
What? I have one on my rear view mirror, but I'm not a doper.
Oh yeah, that's a classic sign right there.
It's like they come in these pretty scents now. Like mine's like cotton candy.
Yeah, put them in your car vents.
Only if you put like 10 or more on there and you leave them all hanging. Okay.
Although it's legal in Washington State, so but
this is true.
But I used people ask me all the time, how did you get all your drunk drivers, no WIs, whatnot? Liquor stores. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, just hang around the liquor stores around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's where you get your alcoholics. So during the middle of the day. Yeah. And he put up there again, also hate when other researchers bashes other groups over. So, and I'll say this with circles and stuff. It's very hard anymore because they have whatever technology or adaptations they can blend in, like octopuses we talked about, chameleons and different types of lizards and all different kinds of animals that can to manipulate their self to fit in to the surroundings, right? So Russia says, be careful with
poop parasites.
That's right.
That's why the kit will definitely have rubber gloves so you don't cross contaminate or get it on your hands too. So, but no, it's just, I don't know. I've seen pictures to where, it's like the glimmer effect. And it's like, is that pixelation because they blew it up? We just don't know. And with AI running rampant, it's just, it's hard. Me personally, I would not present evidence that's going to be torn apart. Right now, if I had something like Barb or Mike has, and other people were like, damn, that is something. What is that? Hell if I know. You tell me.
And this circles back to what you were saying before, is if there's a backstory, if there's more to it. I mean, if I'm not, and again, I'm kind of with you on that. I just don't bother talking about it because I have so many questions that won't get answered that I'm not going to bother.
Right.
If that's what they like and enjoy, then that's all good too. But yeah, I prefer to have at least a little bit of something to go with. What makes you think there's a Dogfoot or Dogman family or whatever? There's got to be more to it.
Right.
Just going around circling and things. It's not evidence, but it's a whole different world, and it's. We were talking about this before, that it seems like Bigfoot used to be, okay, is it the woo versus a living creature? And now there's this whole nother group, the pareidoia versus the red circle. So these things are kind of branching out into their own little belief systems. Are they wrong? No. I mean, we don't know anything about anything really, right?
Yeah.
At this point in time. So can't discredit it because you can't credit it either way.
No, but and when people reach out to me and ask me all the time, and if you're listening, I'm not going to mention your name. They ask me, is this real or not? And I tell them I don't know. Two reasons: AI and credibility, and so forth. And when you talk about credibility, it's not what I'm trying to make it sound. It's you want to put something forth where you're going to make somebody go, what the hell is that? Hell if I know. Now, if you got a bunch of blurry pictures, which it happens, I mean, I'm taking pictures.
All of them are blurry.
I'm taking pictures with my camera, and I'm like, why did it turn out that way? Because it never does that, right? But do I post that in my groups or like, hey, look at this? No, because I cannot explain it. Now, if there is something in there that's very questionable that, it's going to make somebody else go, what the hell? Now, I'll probably share that, right? But, it's just, and this goes back to other shows that we talk about. Once you're labeled, it's hard to overcome that.
Yeah.
And I talk about this in the past with law enforcement or people's testimonial. If you're caught in a white lie or fabricate and whatnot, you're done. You're over with. And so there's a fine line to where, as an investigator or researcher, however you want to title yourself or your group or organization,
or enthusiast,
right? Yeah. Absolutely. And that's where a lot of this comes from, is that when I present something, I want to represent myself and what I do in our group, whatnot. And I don't want a lot of people to think the worst case scenario, but I want to put something out there that's going to make you go, what? And what is that? So there are a lot of things. And Brian says right here, when people ask me about Red Bigfoot, I send them 4K version of the PG film. Nothing blurry and still real after 5 decades. And Harley, the photograph I took, really interesting, especially with enhanced photo.
Oh, I can't see that photo. Ooh.
And right here is a good example. Actual picture, enhanced picture, right?
Yep.
This shows this is where I say you're painting a picture. Don't show the enhanced photo because most of the time it's going to be pixelated and everything else. Show what you actually taken to say, see what I'm looking at? Now, here's what I did to blow it up.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll give you a little more credibility, and a lot of people won't shine your evidence and, try to label you. And I say that with good conscience. because people are very enthusiastic about their evidence, and you should be, because a lot of people don't have encounters or experiences, right? And you're bringing forth stuff to show everybody else that it's real because you experienced it. But your reality is not my reality, right? So we need to try to get something, like Chris said before. I hate to say standard, but something that people will not poke holes in or make fun of people, and that's my pet peeve is seeing how Harley's being treated with everybody else that we talk to, during the shows and meeting people. And Mike, especially you, some of the people you had on your shows, it's sad.
Yeah.
And Christina George, if you're watching, I read your message. She lost a friend today. She was in so much pain, she took her life. And people,
oh my gosh, that's terrible.
People today, I still keep up with some statistics. I can get it off my tongue. Suicide is the highest number one death in America right now. Suicide.
I don't doubt it.
No.
And I think in 2022 there was 49,000 that committed that, and this is a real problem, people. When people come forward with encounters or stories, if you don't believe them, that's okay.
Yeah.
Walk off, scroll on. Don't make comments. And I said this on one of the shows where that guy bought something to fit in with the crowd, and they tore him up. Over 1,000 comments. I mean, they tarred and feathered the hell out of this guy. And, that's weird. Look who's just stepped in. Are you off, Detective Schlager? Welcome. Nice to have you. Hopefully you had a good Thanksgiving. My brother jumped in.
I was going to say, is that your brother?
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Awesome.
So, but, you want to, help people, and it just kills me to see how people treat people.
Yeah.
And it really affects them emotionally and mentally, ladies and gentlemen. And he said it's an investigator. Okay, congratulations. So, but it is, right? And it's very important, and that's why everybody has their groups, their channels, and they run them the way they do, is to protect people. And that's why people reach out to people like Chris and Barb and Mike, because, like Brian says, I feel safe. And that's the platform we try to do.
We're not, I didn't mean to interrupt, Grizzly.
No, you're fine.
We're not going to be able to change the way that people that can't scroll on by. There's always going to be people like that. There's always going to be people like that. What I want to help people to do is to deal with that reaction. Let it go, or get off my. People that can't scroll on by can get off my page. Or if you have stuff that you want people to consider, don't get defensive right away, because it will shut people down, because it makes you look, from an investigator standpoint, it makes you look suspicious if you get defensive right away. And it's probably not. You're probably just being defensive because you're like, wait a minute, I have this. Why do I have to explain myself? It's as plain, as the nose on my face to that person, but not to everybody. But anyway, so that's what I think we just have to help people.
People are curious, and they may ask more questions about it. If they might inquire, doesn't mean it's always a bad thing.
I'll say this. I'll say this from my experiences: stick to your guns.
Yes.
Be consistent. Mm-hmm. You know what you saw. You know what you experienced, and stick with it. Don't change it. Don't. I mean, people would question me, would ridicule, and you're nuts. I'm sticking. I don't care what you think. I'm sticking to my story. I know what I'm seeing out there. I know what's going on out there. I'm learning more and more about it. And if you want to think that's way, fine. If you have any kind of interest at all, come with me. I'll show you. And and I've had people choose to come with me, and I've shown them. And even if it's footprints, they're like 20 inches. You can't fake. You didn't come out here and just make those footprints. They're they're there. So, but stick to your guns on that. And if they're going to lose you as a friend over that, then that's their business.
Maybe they weren't our friend.
It's become part of who I am. I didn't ask for it. I saw the evidence and I got hooked. I got to find out more about it. And and I'll say this because I've talked about my kids in school on the show from time to time. And this is my second year at this school. It's my 26th year overall in education, my second year at this school. And it's a country school in Southeast Missouri with a lot of wooded area around it. And these kids nowadays, new teachers coming in, they'll get on the internet and they'll stalk and try to find things out. Hey, this clown is into Bigfoot. So you can't hide it, right? The school knew about it. The administration knew about it. They hired me anyway. So
right.
And so we go all last year, and one kid, kid after another, you're crazy, you're nuts. We hunt these woods all of our lives. We don't, we never heard, we never see anything. And I stick to my guns. Hey, I don't know what, I know what I'm seeing in the county next to this one. In the county to the west and the county to the east are the two counties that I'm dealing with. And I know what's there. And if it's there, it's here too. I said, you can say what you want. But now, funny, this year, and we just, we're in the middle of the deer hunting season in Missouri. It's national holiday in Missouri, deer hunting season. And one kid after another this year, Mr. Scott, you're not going to believe what I just saw this weekend. You should have seen the size of these footprints. Wow. Mr. Scott, I was sitting in my stand, is getting right around dusk, and a tree snapped about 75 yards behind me.
Wow.
I think I was visited by a Bigfoot. These kids, because this stuff has probably been going on forever. And now I wonder if I'll hear, hey, what is that? What is, and one kid after another is coming forward this year saying that, we saw this, we experienced this. A couple of them said, hey, we saw him. We actually saw him. And then I ask them questions. Describe it. What did you see? What were the conditions like? In the questions that I'm asking these two 8th graders, the Bigfoot is acting consistent with the way I've experienced Bigfoots to act in the 4 years I've been doing this. So I'm thinking, yeah, I think you did see him. So,
all that comes from
Southeast Missouri. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What part?
Yeah, Southeast Missouri.
What part?
I live in Cape Girardeau, which is the largest city in Southeast Missouri, about 40,000 people on the Mississippi River, about 100 miles south of St. Louis. And I'm talking about my county. The county next to me is Bollinger County, where I teach. To the west, the county to the west of that is Madison County, where I have people that I do Squatch stuff with. So.
And he also states, too, with all the technology and everything in the world, do you think it's something subconscious, like people see what they want to believe? Yes, that is a real phenomenon and real issue. And I think people get tied in snowballing with that. And I think we're seeing that classic tell. And one more thing, and I'll yield back to the panel. Jean Hudson, she said, where is it at? I don't want to... She says something, what was it, call themselves? Oh, right here. What about the YouTube channels that call themselves researchers? And this actually happened, if y'all don't know, and have a guest on their talk shows. And then the next show, say no offense, but they don't believe them. They mock them. That actually happened with some of my admins. A couple of them, and I outrooted them and banned them from a little over 300 something groups that I can reach out to automatically. And I didn't go into great detail, not to paint a dirty picture on anybody, but I made sure to let them know the evidence that I had in the complaints. And they're like, well, if you're doing it, then I'm doing it. That's your choice. But I just want to let you know, because I don't tolerate that. Mm-hmm. And that's awful. And that stirred up a lot of issues. And people don't do that. You don't do that.
Not cool.
If you're not going to believe them, then don't have them on your show. Mm-hmm. You know,
right.
I mean, what's the purpose? To mock them and tar them? Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, that's so disrespectful. Wow.
Mike, I was telling you, or as you're talking about the students coming forward, imagine if you weren't around, being Mike Scott, being that teacher, that voice that they could come to, or they've had enough interest to now they are out in the woods and they are looking around at these things and saying, what is it? Holy crap, that is a footprint, or what's that sound, or so you're bringing things to light in their minds that probably wouldn't be there normally, and it's pretty cool because you're actually getting some feedback and
who else are they going to tell that's going to believe
right?
The feedback is it's phenomenal to me because that's a part of what I do. I teach in the classroom, but then I'm also teaching these kids, about life, what's around their environment, what to pay attention to, and they're learning there as well. And then they're coming back and they're sharing back with me. And then, and one kid after another will say, oh no, he's not so crazy because I've experienced this and I've experienced that. And these other kids like, oh really? And it's really neat. And it is. I got some stuff I'm working on right now that just blows me away with the sophistication level of the Sasquatch, and one of my young men that I'm working with, and I had to really think about this one, but and I know I sent Chris and Barb, I sent both of you guys pictures of this situation too, where he goes out deer hunting on his property, on his family property, out in the middle of nowhere, sits all day in a stand on a Saturday, packs up, goes home, eighth grader, comes out on Sunday morning, and the tree in front of the deer stand has what looks like a major deer antler rubbing out the word hi, H-I, on the tree bark.
Wow.
And then if you look to the lower right of it, there's a little bitty I and a little bitty H spelling the word backwards. Mm-hmm. And he takes a picture of it, and he's like, how'd this get here? Well, he brings it to me on Monday. He says, I want to show you this. He says, but we don't let them get their phones in school. So I wrote my phone number down. I said, just text them to this number. When I got the text, I looked at it, it blew me away. So I went and talked to him about it. And I got he said it was from Saturday evening to Sunday morning. It was there. He says, I didn't, because there's no humans came on the property at that time. He goes, do you think, and he was one of the ones that saw the Bigfoot about a month ago. He goes, do you think it's Bigfoot? I said, I think it's a possibility. Do they know how to spell hi? Do they know what hi? We've had people come on here and talk to people that say, yeah, they do know some stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's incredible though. So I told him, I said, I've been thinking about this. So we're in the process of doing this. I told him, take a couple of turkey feathers, place a couple of turkey feathers there at the below the high on the trunk of the tree, right next to it, and get your little stick glyph and spell out hi on the ground at the face. You spell out yourself hi back, hi, H-I, with the twigs and sticks. Give them a couple days, go back and see if the feathers are gone, see if they leave you anything in return. We'll determine whether it's Bigfoot or whether it's who knows what by doing stuff like that. So that's what we're in the process of doing.
That's wild.
Well, it's crazy.
That's like that encounter to where, was it 3 or 4 months ago, where that guy was smoking a cigar on his porch, and he got hit with dung, feces.
Yeah.
And you know, and I was telling somebody across the world this encounter, and he was like, I believe it. And I'm like, what do you mean you believe it? And I wanted to know. And he's like, because when I was in school, we went to the zoo and they slung feces on you at the glass. And not only that, we had a bully pick up a rock and throw one at the gorillas and hit a baby, a juvenile gorilla, and it cried. And I'm like, what? He said, yes, it cried. And one of the parents come over and babied it like a human. And that baby pointed in a crowd. And he testified to this on 2 shows. In the crowd who threw that rock, we're talking 30, 40 kids. That adult picked up a rock and launched it and hit that kid in the back of the head that was laughing, that threw the rock and injured the juvenile. And I'm like, what? He said, Grizzly, if I wasn't there, I would not believe it, but it happened. And the teachers were like, what the hell do we do? You deserve that. Don't do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Don't
and
do that again.
He was like, I would never. He's like, now hitting a kid with the rock, I'm down with that. Okay. I can blow that off and like, yeah, that's feasible. But to single that kid out that threw that rock, and I was like, that just like blew me away. And then I talked to other people like, yeah, they actually do throw feces at you, and it's been documented in public, out there in the woods. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you need to start disclosing more of this information. And people like don't come forward. He's like, who's going to believe you? I'm smoking a stogie on the back porch, right? And I get slung in the face. So, but yeah, guerrilla eco warfare. There you go.
That's great.
But you know, once again, it's credible because now you got encounters when he was a kid at the zoo, and so intelligence, man. It's something's going on out in the woods. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot. It is funny because I thought it was a joke at first. I really did. I was waiting for the punchline. And no, the guy doesn't smoke any cigars anymore. So I don't blame him.
But that was the same where they had. Didn't he have a like a wildfire or
yes,
brush? So and they could glow, duh. So it's not like we can go out in the woods and be like, hey, I'm here to interview you. Why'd you do that? Right? And be like, well, because he started a fire or humans start fire. Right, idiot.
I cannot explain people's encounters. I take when they make statements, I listen to the words they articulate and how they phrase things to determine if there's any
inconsistencies
in their testimony, and that determines whether I will lean towards them or away them or be like, hell if I know. At this point, I don't know anymore because it, just like the rum cake incident, when I tell people in the paranormal field about that, they're like, whatever, that did not happen. What the hell it didn't? They sit there and laughed at it. They're like, and go back and watch the shows because they're like taken back. They're like, there's no way that happened. And I'm like, you want to call her and tell her a liar? Go ahead. I'm not, because she's very credible in the Bigfoot community, and everything she said so far has been right and true.
And she has video to back stuff up. So
and
video can't fake that.
So, so I mean, and that's the problem, right? It's that just because it doesn't happen to you doesn't mean it's not real or the encounter did not happen. And I said this on one of the shows. People said that about UFOs, that if they, I believe when they land on the White House lawn. Almost said a nasty word. It happened twice, that they flew over the Capitol and hung out, back in the 50s, so, and people still didn't want to believe it. But
every time they fly over the White House, they think, no, we don't want to come here.
No.
You started that. I didn't. But yeah, Thomas, they travel and live in caves. We hear that they bank themselves underneath embankments of river banks, and in hollows. And I mean, who's right and who's wrong? And this is where I say, this is where we learn from people that come forward, like Haley and everybody else, and Barb's and Mike's that goes out and has these gifting stations and plays with sticks and twigs and colors and whatever else, and marbles.
Whatever works, right?
Yeah. I mean, what are we gonna do? You tell Mike.
Don't forget serenade. We got to serenade them too.
I did not want to bring it up. Oh, baby. Please believe me. I wasn't going to sing, but I did.
You knew it was going to happen.
So, but, then we had that AI picture of that one female Bigfoot, and people are like, she's damn good looking. I'm like, oh, hell.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Sissy. Was it Sissy?
Grizzly sees that picture. Sissy. He says, I want to come out and do some serenading.
So, yeah, I mean, I got a board here. I can change octaves without even changing octaves. So I can make you sound real good. But yeah, and finger paints and whatever. I mean, it's just it's crazy to what people come forward. But hence this, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the first time or the last time we hear that same story. Mm-hmm. And that's why I believe there's validity and truth in everybody's encounters. Yeah. And like my brother, do people manifest things? Yeah, people. It happens with pareidolia. What's that? It's a Bigfoot. Really? Look, Grizzly's got Bigfoots. And we're looking at it like, what the hell are they looking at? Hell if I know. So, yeah, so it does happen. And people jump on bandwagons and so forth. And this is where it goes back to credibility. Whatever you put out, you're going to receive it back. So you want to be careful on what you do. Mm-hmm. And when you do present stuff, give a backstory, paint a picture, give whatever evidence you have. And, if you're looking at it, be like, I have no idea. I'm not. And if you're second guessing yourself, then I probably wouldn't do it. Save you some headaches and heartaches and troubles, whatnot. But now if you got something, it's like Barb, and I've done this with Barb, Chris, and Mike and other people. What is this? Or I'll send them stuff people send me and just get a reaction out of them.
Yeah.
And be like, what the hell is that? Hell, I don't know. A lonely Bigfoot. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, but I don't know. People do gifts, and people leave trinkets and so forth, beads. I mean, shells, feathers, sticks, color sticks. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just amazing. But if you got stuff like this happen across the country, in the United States, in Canada, UK, Britain, whatever else, everybody can't be wrong. There's got to be something going on.
I was going to say what Gene said. Yeah, Grizzly, not everybody sees things in the same way. Take the hidden picture. Some people can never find the hidden picture. Yep, that's true. Others can find them in seconds. That's true, Gene. Yep.
Yeah, I'm very good with those little find and seek things, find the letter off or what. I can do it usually within 5 seconds or less. Also, I don't know why my mind works that way.
Well, it could be, your background, and you're used to like the attention to detail. But I was reading about a study. Did we I don't think I talked to you guys about this, that where, as far as like that people can see deeper, there was a literal scientific study. People can see different strengths or depths into infrared. Have you seen that?
So there has been lots of different studies and phenomenon to where, let's use people with abilities, right? Some people can see auras. Some people can see electronic or EMF fields around a body. Mm-hmm. That's fuzzy and hazy, on them. So yes,
or what people can't see. I mean, we know there are people that are colorblind. That's a frequency that they can't see. Yeah. So just because that shows there's people that have differences one way doesn't mean there aren't people that don't have differences another way. They can see things that others can't see, right?
Right. Yep.
There was a guy, and I can't remember. It was on one of our shows that got brought up. Could see radio frequencies. In the air. Now, I thought it was a bunch of BS, and I really did, because I was like, "Come on, that's just impossible." And but the guy came out with the device to harness that, and the government bought the patent.
Oh,
and I can't remember the guy's name, but he's well known. And if you Google it up, I think you'll pop. But it was interesting because I never heard that, and that's why I didn't think it was real, right? Because I never heard it. But once again, you know, people, animals seeing different frequencies, color, infrareds, IRs, different shades, and so yeah, I mean, and this is where it goes back, possible. Right? Not probable, but possible.
mm-hmm.
So, and that's why when people come forward with their encounters or their stories, I will always listen, you know. And ladies and gentlemen, you've seen it on our shows and everybody else's shows. It's some wild stuff that happens, and everybody's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you got a lot more people coming out. Go ahead, Barb. I'm sorry.
When I just wanted to present something to you guys, and maybe this is something that you had heard. So the last 2 weeks, my family, you know, my daughter got married last Saturday, and so we've had family in, and my son-in-law from Pennsylvania was here, and he brought a FLIR camera that it doesn't record, but it takes pictures. So he was really excited, you know, to get out there and see. And he's like, he's coming up with all these ways that he's going to trick the Bigfoot, you know, the Bigfoot into like, what if I sneak? And I'm like, Corey,
good luck.
You can't sneak. But what if you like distract them? And I'm like, that's not how that works. You're not
I'll say this. I have seen videos of thermal cameras of Bigfoot walk into a portal.
Really?
They will not share the evidence. The group, the guy is, I think, getting ready to retire in a branch of government.
Okay.
They are non-disclosure people. They have a military background when they go out in investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was privy and blessed to see this because we hear about this all the time.
Yeah.
And the story goes, they went out to the field to recreate this, and they saw the hoe in the middle of the field.
Wow.
And they have all this recorded. One guy walks into it and steps back out. 9 months later, he dies.
Wow.
The second one gets very, very sick, damn near dies. And the doctors couldn't figure out the diseases. So, and then go ahead.
Is anybody else getting interference with that?
No.
Oh my gosh! When you were saying that, I'm like, oh, here we go. The G-man's listening.
Yeah, right. And then we have a person with abilities in another country that has a portal on her property, and she's losing cattle. And the cattle would stay away. And this goes back to Skinwalker Ranch, where all the animals stayed away from that certain area of the property, where the remains of the carcass that was that sat there for over a year, that nothing would touch it, and the animals would not go to that specific area.
Or if the flies land on them, the flies just die. Stay right there.
Wow.
So so I've never seen a fake FLIR footage.
No, right.
You know, when I first saw it, I didn't know what I was looking at because it was weird. To see a person to walk into it and step back out of it. And the way that they described it, it was code and it was staticky. So, and we got pictures, videos of so-and-so, the portal alleged on her property and things coming in and out of it. I mean, how can you debunk that?
So you're saying, though, that it was cold. So it wasn't, I mean, because that's my thing was, I said, Corey, I don't know what they would actually, you know, there's reports that they would show hot like a human, but would they really? Because the
Bigfoot showed hot. And when the Bigfoot stepped into the portal, it like vaporized. It like disappeared.
Wow.
And this was out in the middle of a field.
Wow.
And that's when they went out there with the thermals and they were recording it. And they were like, are you catching this on video? And they're out there watching it, you know, the feedback, because they got technology, and I hate to say it, I'm jealous, where they can watch it too live. I mean, they have like a strategic, I can never say it, base set up with monitors and everything else, just like, I mean, top-notch people. and they're out of Georgia, and I won't say anything else. Hello, Irene. But, you know, and then we look at somebody else's video. The portal's black and the flash of light. How many times we heard a flash of light, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen that on other people's videos, whether it's during a lightning storm or a storm or just a flash of light out of nowhere. So is that where it's opening up and closing? I don't know. I've never personally experienced that.
Yeah.
But somebody lose their life and the other one get deathly ill. So that tells me that there are side effects, right? That humans and animals do not want to be around. And if they are, they get sick and die. So, and once again, we have those cases. So how can you debunk that or disprove it?
Sounds like portalitis is something you don't want, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So,
but I do wonder if, because what I was saying is that, and we actually though, we got some interesting results that I think because it is just, you know, it's a scope that you look through and you can take photos. But I said to him, it's not, if we see something, it's going to be hard because you know how a Bigfoot, the movement is so quick, you're not going to be able to take a picture. Like when you take a picture, it's gone, you know. But what we did is I was recording as he was looking through, and I sent that to Chris, and you saw some weird stuff, right? Like some anomalies, because I do feel that they were peeking at us.
Almost looked like some eye shine, not real great, but you can see. It looked like peeking around a tree almost.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, like, do they have the ability to either, you know, like interfere with the flare? Would they have that ability, or can they have something on that they would put on their fur or that's naturally occurring in their hair? In their hair, naturally occurring that would make them shine a different color.
They could step behind brush and trees and basically disappear in the same aspect as being visible to the naked eye. Is the same concept with the flare. So you're only going to see what's directly in front. So if it's behind bushes that's too thick, you won't see it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, and inference, don't forget that. But also, how do you explain when you see one on flare and it just evaporates like Star Trek? You know, beam me up, Scotty, right?
You don't.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know,
and that's what I thought too. If they would have mud on them, you know.
Now you're talking Predator and all that. Remember where he puts mud all over himself?
Rambo.
Yeah.
Rambo,
oh my gosh,
that too.
Yeah.
But once again, you know, all these are possibilities, and you know, and it's people that are coming forward and showing footage. You know, it's just mind blowing. And when Chris talked about getting a thermal, I'm like, hell yeah, I definitely hands down. Get a thermal because I mean, once again, just in the paranormal realm.
I've got one. I just want to get one of those more, you know.
Yeah.
I want to break the bank with one.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? You're just like,
What I would do, my recommendation, I would reach out to some of the manufacturers and be like, hey man, this is what I'm doing. And this is what I'm researching. You got any refurb units that you want to donate and I can promote? You'll be surprised. So, I mean, there are people in the TV land that's got equipment donated. So just to get their name out. So I'm just giving you a little tag there. But
all right. I want one of those. Yeah. I'd love to.
So, because the military units, there's in people in law enforcement, military, there's grants out there and not departments, but avenues to get government equipment real cheap. There's websites you can go to where it's auctioned off for pennies on the dollar and so forth. So, because a lot of the law enforcement departments just sign up for the program and they can get whatever the military has free. You just got to keep inventory of it and so forth and be responsible. So pretty interesting. Yeah. But I definitely invest in a good thermal.
Yeah. What was the one? What was the one? Kat said, what was the one that Kent was talking about last show? GP, he liked it the best. I don't know.
Some kind of, some technology. There's only, I think, 25 or 30 of them made.
Wow.
And it does something, and it does like 14 different things in its investigations. And and you don't have to buy a new unit. The company, you just plug it up to your computer when they have an update, and it downloads the new software. So yeah, I have to circle back and find that out. But yeah, it's like I said, if people that have this equipment are getting good evidence and good
Kathy
responses off
Westerman's group. Oh gosh, what is it? It's out of Florida, and I'm sorry. What is Kathy Westerman's group? Do you know, Chris? It's
Bigfoot. Hold on, I can pull it up.
Yeah, I think I don't know if she's still on the show. I feel like she was on earlier, but man, they get such great evidence on that. What do they do? It's the white hot setting or whatever of the flare.
Bigfoot World Cryptids and Paranormal Researchers of Central Florida.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Florida. Yeah, because I also feel like that also gives good evidence, like almost into the spirit realm. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. So if it's showing that, then it definitely would be great for.
Yeah, because even Brian Barber bought that one that attaches to the phone, and remember when he first got it, he thought they were trees. And he had it on the wrong setting because when he looked at his truck, he was like, "What the hell? Why is it that color? That's hot." Wait a minute. He turns back around and it's like, "Uh-oh." He's got two walking up on him. So good night, Thomas.
Oh, good night. Oh, I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. Isn't that right, Brian Barber? When you had your one, I think it was you, wasn't it, Brian? You had it on the wrong setting.
So what is it? A spirit?
I believe it was him.
I love you.
Logically insane. Welcome. Give a round of applause. I like that name.
I know.
Right? It's like a paradox.
Yes.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, that'd be a good topic for another show.
I know.
Brian says yes. So yeah, I thought it was him.
Y'all join that club.
But it's just hard, Brian, to remember everybody's encounters because they're so unique and everybody has something to bring forward. And I say Brian's name a lot because he's got a plethora of evidence and testimonial. And he's come a long ways in the Bigfoot realm. And people, and I told him, people reach out and ask about him. Yes, absolutely. I believe it. And people are like, well, if you believe it, then I know he's true and he's real. It's just you set yourself and you present yourself a certain way, like Mike, Barb, and Chris said earlier. And that's how you portray yourself. And that's what gets you around the world in this realm. Thought it was right. Yeah, for hot, but turned out it was black. Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah, because he looked at his truck and said, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, he saw the motor and stuff, and so that was funny. But because I've been looking at thermals, but once again, where do you invest money? Do you invest money in these kits? Do you invest money in more equipment? And because I spent a lot lately, just on
drone.
Stuff that I didn't. So almost. Especially on Cyber Monday, I was like, ooh.
I know. So tempting.
$400 off, I was like, whoa. So, but, the ones I want are like 10 or 15,000. And they have the thermal, they have everything. You cannot destroy these things. They will not bump into anything. You cannot flip it. And so, yeah.
Wow.
They return back to home before they die, all that fun jazz, right?
Unbelievable.
Tracking.
I would be afraid with that with Bigfoot's like, yeah, sure. I'll show you. Like never comes back.
Throws a tree at it.
I know.
That would be my luck.
Yeah.
That would be my luck.
You think the drone's coming back and it's like huge trees like
comes back spitting and sputtering.
Or
happened to you.
Or you sitting here and it's like, where'd it go? And you don't see it on your screen no more. Yeah.
Portal just ate it.
Yeah, right. So, but the technology's out there, but like I said, if anybody's looking into stuff like that, reach out to the manufacturers and you may get laughed at. But sometimes you'll be surprised. They may say, hey, I got a discontinued item as a floor model. Are you interested? And give you a good chunk off of it, right?
It's worth a
because
try.
they want their name out there, and they want people using the technology. And there's been organizations on TV that's have their old vehicles outfitted, and they brought the trailers out. I ain't gonna mention what shows, and they used them on episodes, and they were donated. They didn't pay for none of that because they got their name out. So
right, yeah, scratch each other's back a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Grizzly, should we ask Barb and Mike?
Hey, it's whatever you want to do.
While we got them already here, so Barb already knows. Barb knows what we're doing for my next show.
Doing, don't look. Hey,
well, you're involved in it, Grizzly. You started this crap.
What is happening, guys?
So we got like a little guest panel coming on Monday. They're just people popping in, spending 10 minutes talking a little, a couple things. We're asking them what they think Bigfoot are, and we'll discuss that a little bit, and asking them a couple questions that they would like to know about Bigfoot, and looking for yes and no answer type of questions. Like, for example, one of mine's going to be, can Bigfoot cloak?
Okay.
Yes or no? And then the following week, Grizzly's going to get what the cats cover your ears. Actually, it doesn't matter. The psychics, and we're going to give them these questions.
Oh, nice.
And they're going to come on the following week, and we're going to, every single question I'm going to have written down. I'm going to have a chart, and I'm going to get a yes, no from each one of them, and to see if there's any kind of trends going that we can catch.
I like that.
Interesting.
So we're not going to blindside the people with abilities. We're going to, because a lot of these people have never, besides a few of them, worked on anything supernatural or paranormal that's not human related. We'll put it that way to break it simpler terms.
Mm-hmm.
And that defines the process and how they get answers. Because when we had that alleged Dogman attack, I reached out to a handful and I had them look at it, and they were like coming to me like, I'm being blocked and it's not, my routine's not working. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And it's because I know why. And they're like, why? And I was like, take the human element out of it. And they were like,
oh,
what are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Let's say it's not human involved. They're like, well, I never did anything like that. I'm like, well, hello, welcome.
Wow.
You're just now introduced to it. And their thinking process, like Kat and a few other ones, had to ask their questions and use their techniques differently to get a different outcome, because they never went down that road before. Because every one of them that I reach out to could not even, they hit a certain wall and they could not get any answers. And they were coming up with blanks, and it didn't make any sense to them. And I knew why it didn't make any sense. And, the psychics, we're going to use that. I don't think Bigfoot are supernatural. I think they're super spiritual. And that is a possibility. And I don't shun anybody's beliefs, Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot. And this is where I say to the audience in the Bigfoot realm and community, take people's encounters in their theories open arms.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe it, that's okay. Just don't say Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot, you're so full of crap.
Nobody's right. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong.
Nobody knows.
When I'm asked those types of questions, I'll say I've yet to see that evidence. However, I've seen things this year that 2 years ago I wouldn't think possible.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what did you just say?
Keep an open mind.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
Possible.
Hashtag possible.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing, because I was one of those people years ago. I know. I drew that line in the sand, and I say this over and over, and I kept moving it. And I was like, you're ignorant. Yeah. Why are you doing that? Because, when somebody comes to you and says, Barb did this, and writes it in a statement, you can use that as evidence to prosecute, right? So if you got everybody across the globe coming up with the same story, and this is where I said there's some validity to it, and we have something to sink our teeth into, because everybody cannot be wrong. Now, are there people out there making stuff up to be in the world to look at me? Yeah, absolutely. We have that. We have the hoaxers and little Johnnies running around drunk in the woods in an ape suit. Yes, that happens.
Yeah.
You know, the Colorado Bigfoot train. Prime example, right? I mean, that caused us controversy. And if you look back in the early 2000s and those 2 law enforcement officers that shot that Bigfoot, remember that one? And kept it in the cooler on ice? And it turned out to be hoaxes, and they ended up losing their job, and they fell off the face of the earth. They got crucified. And if you don't remember that, ladies and gentlemen, that made the national news.
Oh,
and
I was so excited that day.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Grizzly.
Yes.
You are right. They do exist.
I was so excited.
And I was like, and then it was a hoax. So it does happen, yes. And then Chris brings up AI, and we see all this pictures and video. Once again, you know, now Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot brings something to me. You know, he's got a reputation out in the world. I'm going to look at it. But seeing something like people had before and like, you know, off to the side note, no, I don't believe in that. And then they're like, hear from somebody else. Well, I know who took that picture. You're like, what? Oh, well, you know, I didn't know that. Well, see, once again, you know, credibility. And this is why I'm saying people got to be careful on what they present and how they share stuff, because some people can take it the wrong way and run it in the wrong direction. And it's not your intentions, you know, because I get excited on certain stuff. And, you know, when I saw that, whatever was out back, you know, I didn't take a picture of it. And I told Chris it drove me nuts. I had to go back out there before it rained and take a picture. And I had somebody else look at it, and they saw a blue rock, remember, in whatever that was. You know,
what was that? Did I know about that?
Yeah.
It was a footprint, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and with the blue rock.
Yeah. And because I was out putting up cameras, and when I saw it, I was like, that's weird. And then thinking nothing of it. Then when I got back, I was like, what are you thinking? Is that what it is? You know, because I wasn't thinking. And I didn't go out and post that on all the groups and stuff. What did I do? I sent it to a select few and just get people's reactions. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So, and once again, you know, you're seeing stuff like out there in that area, just like that. Once again, a backstory. Now you're seeing more than one. And now
you did the proper job of vetting the material first, as you know.
Right. And then we got the pictures on the trail cams, which people are like, what is that? Oh, if I know, that's why I'm asking you guys. You know, that are out there in the field researching these things. Because how many other people were like, I've seen pictures like that. I know what that is. Well, I didn't know what that is. I know it's 5.5, 6 foot off the ground. You know, and it looked like 2 different creatures or animals or beings or whatever you want to call them. So
Yeah.
I mean, you got the before, the after pictures. You've got the heights. You got all the information that you could possibly have to explain what happened. And that's all we ask for. And I think, and again, to save you those questions that might make you feel insecure about it. But the more you bring to the table, the better. You know, it just makes it easier
really
to understand.
Chris, is when Peter Marks said on the show, which is like when Indians visit you, or whatever spirits. And I'm like,
wow, yeah.
Nobody knew about those pictures. No, I didn't show you guys at all those pictures.
No, you didn't.
And that blew my mind during that show. And I was like, what in the hell? And Peter's just laughing. I hate when he does that. So, but I mean, Peter will bust you out. And that's why I tell people, when you deal with people with abilities, you got to be pure in mind, because they will, and they'll tell you, they don't mean to, but they will listen and hear what you're thinking. Because I have people tell me that before, or they'll be like, oh, so how's so-and-so with that? No. And I'm like, and because people's been called out before on shows with their personal beliefs or habits or whatever, addictions and so forth. But this is a good group. We are open-minded, and we greatly appreciate that. And, I respect your evidence and your testimony as well, because, I think you've been vetted. And when I mean vetted, I'm talking credible, and I like the way you handle your evidence and present things. I think it's very professional. And, and people look up to people like you and people that do shows like us because they reach out. And we hear it all the time. You know, look at Brian Barber once again. I'm gonna have to just put a little cue, Brian Barber, Brian Barber, Brian Barber, and Chris is gonna get that clip. But you know, he would not come out
Marking
until
the
we
time
had him.
right now.
Yeah, we didn't have that show, and that opened the door. Once again, Barb show opened the door, you know, for people to come forward, and once they got comfortable, you know, they were doing other shows. And why they were doing other shows, because they were like, if they have them on their show, then this dude's legit, because we know how they roll. And they start doing other shows, and that breeded to other things and more conversations, and that's the way it should be, together. And it's not, and it's sad.
And you know, we don't, Grizzly, you know, you'll agree, we don't necessarily agree with, maybe, you know, you don't have to agree with your guests' opinions.
No,
I don't
not at all
necessarily even have to believe everything they say, but that's not for me to determine, right? So but we do, like you said, we do try to vet prior to, you know, having them on, because also, you know, if somebody's going to try to fill it, and you know, 45-minute, hour and a half show with like, well, yeah, I saw a Bigfoot, but then that's all that they can say. That's not really gonna, you know, that's not really gonna do it. So
yeah, well, there's so many people out there, and just like the guy on our last show, he's a good guy. I went to his conference this year by the LBL, Kent, with Kentucky, Tennessee Paranormal. What he didn't say in the service, he had a hand grenade go off next to his head. That's why he is the way he is now. He's half deaf, and he's got spinal problems. That's why somebody made a comment, you know, about sit down, relax. I wanted to say he can't, because the pain, he's got to walk. And I know what he's going through, because it's killing me to sit here right now. But you know, and that's why I was like, hey, tell people, you know, about your injury, and he didn't feel comfortable. Because he's, you know,
some people don't like to, though, you know,
right. And I felt bad because I put him on the spot, but I was trying to let people know it's just Kent, you know, it's just him. You gotta know the backstory. And I felt bad when I did that too, and I circled back, and he was okay, but it was nothing bad. But I just want people to know, you know, like Russell. You know, Russell will tell you certain days he have good days and bad days. I totally agree with
Parkinson's. Yes.
So,
and we just love Russell. I'm very protective of him.
And his book just dropped on Amazon, by the way. So those that are interested, it's available. And I already ordered my copy.
I have it up to
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So speaking of books, when Russell sent me that notice today, I reached out to my publisher. I'm like, my book is supposed to be done in October. She's like, I'm actually working on it. So Whispers of the Mind is being worked on as we speak. So
she would have said that any day that you reached out to her, probably. Right? Yeah, I'm working on it right now.
And the other book that I'm tackling is near-death experiences, and that is that's wild.
I bet.
Yeah, that's just wild. And I mean, now their theories are, ladies and gentlemen, is do not go to the light. When you pass, you go to the darkness. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, have you not heard that? I'm like, no. And I'm talking to people that does these production companies, and they're well known in politically and everything else. They're like, where have you been? Yeah, I'm like, man, you just blew my mind. And these people are like, yeah. So Google that part. That's
but wild. Who are they being paid by? Are they being paid by Hollywood? I don't trust them.
No, I don't either. I'm like, wait, I don't know about that.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So, and you know, and not trying to get religious, not trying to get religion or religious, but they're like, you know, what was Lucifer? And I was like,
the light.
I don't know. Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute now.
Angel of light.
I don't know.
But, you know, yeah. And just like Rebecca just said, you know, we learn so many by hearing other people's and stories. Yeah. And that's the point.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, what's bizarre, right? Is that if you hear this thing and like, wow, that's really bizarre. Not that it's unbelievable, but it's like, wow, that's kind of hard to believe. And then a month later, out of the blue, there's no way these people would know that somebody else said it.
You said it.
They say the same thing. Like, are you kidding me? It's just wow, so great.
Yeah, it is, and it's just crazy because you don't think hearing some of these people's encounters or experiences, right? And you're like, there's no way. And then you hear more of it, and it's either the same story or so similar. And it's like, did you? And I asked her before, did you ever post this? And they're like, no, I'm just now coming out and talking about it. And this is what's going on. Just like Haley or Harley. Sorry, Mr. Owens. Yeah. You know, about how he's being shunned with friends and family. You know, it's sad.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Harley, I don't really tell a lot of people that don't know me well.
When I talk about bar experience, then explain to who's throwing rocks and sticks and pine cones at our cameras.
Yeah.
Is it raccoons and bears?
That crazy. Yeah, who's doing that? Yeah.
Or making those crazy sounds throughout
the
night.
Yeah, that too.
So, she's got a soundboard and she's got all these audio mixers and I'm out there getting the frequencies just right.
Anybody that knows Barb knows that's not true.
No, that's right. That's right. That's for sure. We at our daughter's wedding, best friends of ours we've known them and they know that I'm always I'm the weirdo, but my husband said, yeah, and guess what we have? We have a clan of Bigfoot, and
your husband admitted that.
He did.
He's come a long way.
I know, and I was so proud of him because he's like, yeah, and I got to tell you, the sounds that we get, and blah blah blah. So, but this also surprised me. So our friend Dan, he grew up in Northern California. He said, oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And I'm like, what? So you believe it? He said, oh yeah, absolutely. He said, I've never seen one, but I know tons of people that have seen them. So I was like, oh, that's cool. So it is
Bigfoot bestie.
Yeah, the people that will say, yeah, I know, or I know somebody, or I have. Just like I think Harley said, the more people that talk about it, yeah.
Well, I want Chris to address Harley's comment.
Oh.
I've had people tell me the vocals I've captured were elk, coyotes, and that the photo of the creature is just a shadow.
So how do we talk about audio? What do you base your audio testimony off of?
Well, you get to use ways of analyzing the audio, spectrograms.
There you go.
Which
you can't debunk that, Harley.
You can't.
No,
you can't fake it.
No. Can't fake it. Yep.
An
elk.
Yeah, I mean,
or a coyote. No.
Definitely not a coyote. And
no,
I don't think there are any elk in Virginia.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Well, and here's the key, right?
That's the other thing.
Harley.
So the person who's saying that's elk doesn't know much about what animals are.
Probably never been elk hunting.
Parts of the country.
Exactly.
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
Right. But you take him. He was a non-believer. Totally. 100% thought you were full of crap, whatever, did not believe in it. And then it hits him. And he's like, what the hell? And yeah, I know. Think about all the other thousands of people, like Mike's talking about, the kids, the hunters, up in the tree stand, dropping something to go harvest it. And next thing you know, the creature or whatever runs out and grabs it and takes off with it. That would freak me out. Or be in a tree stand and then the damn thing comes up and shakes the hell of the tree stand and bends the tree stand around the tree.
Yeah. No thanks.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, but I didn't want to. I my face turned red on that comment. So I didn't read it. I know we're going into the ditch
for the second time. That's so funny. Hey,
was that Rebecca?
Like, hey, wait! I have this towing company, and I haven't had to use it for the whole show, right, Rebecca?
Yeah, she's trying to drum up some business.
Yeah.
Job security right there.
Right.
Why are you blushing, Grizzly? You're red.
Yeah, I know. I feel it. That's why I was getting ready to ask Mike. So what's going on with you and your place? That's called deflection.
Yeah.
I be honest with you, I've been so busy going back and forth at the father-in-law's house. I hadn't been up there in a while. So
So yeah, hey, on the police department, they're in rotation. You just call dispatch, tell them to send the next one in line. So yeah, they're on a rotation list. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But no, but Harley, we're gonna work something out on the sidelines for you, and probably do a Sunday show. We're thinking we'll work it out with you, the details, and get something lined up. I never done that before, Harley. Usually you fit to our schedule, but I think that what you've done and the way you collected your evidence and what you're going through, I think it's credible, and I think your story needs to be told, and we're going to support you.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep.
So
somebody had mentioned about if we're going to have Kenny on again, and yeah, the I guess the issue with Kenny is that they have such terrible
service,
terrible service. Yeah, we'd love to have him on, but it's just
Ozark, northern Arkansas, Ozark Mountains.
Yep. So. Yep.
Well, we may have to just do a telephone call.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely reduces the stream required.
Yeah.
That
and then I believe that Kenny doesn't hear that well though either. Right? I think, isn't that right, Mike? Because I think I've talked. Yeah. So it's that could also be hard, you know.
Yeah.
But anyway, but we would love to have him on, but may not be. But we'll definitely do. I would love to talk to Harley. Oh my gosh. Fantastic.
Apparently he needs Starlink out there.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Bless somebody's heart. I've seen a post, and this person really thought they had a UFO encounter UFOs encounter. And man, they went out and blasted the heck out of that Starlink in the sky.
No.
And I'm like, no, you did not. And they tore this person to shreds. And I'm like, man, did you really have to do it that way? I would have just been like, hey, that Starlink, and gave them some pictures to show them as reference.
It's pretty cool when you see it.
It is the first time you see it, man.
If you didn't know what it was, you'd be like, what the hell? You know, I can see that happening.
What this person did, and like many others.
Oh, yes.
You know? So, and that's why I'm saying, you know, when I get stuff, you know, I'll send it to people like Barb, Chris, and Mike, and just be like, not even say a word. I'll just send it.
Yeah.
And see what they say back. And that's, you know, I don't put any.
Then I have to say, what is this?
Nope. I just send it to them and see what happens. And the stuff I don't send is because I'm not going to waste anybody's time. But if there's something there, I'll definitely will share it, because I don't want to embarrass anybody, right? And people, I screen a lot of people's photographs and stuff, and they send them to me, and they ask my opinion, and then I tell them, you know, I don't mind helping, but once again, what I think and what you think can be two different things. I don't want to stop somebody from coming forward. But I don't want, and they're like, I just don't want to be embarrassed. No, I don't blame you. That's why I do the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. I don't tell everybody. I send Chris, Mike, and Barb stuff. I send Chris stuff, Barb all the time. I
sent you something, yesterday, matter of fact. Right?
Yeah. When I was in the middle of dying. So, yeah.
Oh, Jean's, her backyard neighbors are forest people, and Dogman. Oh, yeah. So you want to.
So and that's the thing when we talk about forest people or elementals. Whoa! I mean, now you got different spectrums. You got munchkins, elves, dwarves, whatever you want to call them. You know,
sprites.
Yes.
But some people they refer to forest people as I mean, that's what they refer to Sasquatch as.
Well, some people do. Yes.
Some people use the term as a catch-all, right?
Right.
And this is where certain we got into this on certain shows about skinwalkers and so forth, and the proper terminology. And a lot of people don't know, because somebody else uses it as a reference, and they pick it up.
Me too.
And Justin proved this case on the first recorded Bigfoot in history turned out to be not accurate, because he went out and bought the books and read it all. It was like because when he started providing me evidence, I knew exactly where he was going. I saw the end result, and I was like, and because he asked me, and I was like, yeah, and he's like, no, and he proved his case, and I was like, damn, because
Oh.
What's that?
Look what Jean said. Look what Jean said. She said, yeah, above there. Here.
There we go.
Whoops. We just did it. Oh my God. I won't touch it. You go ahead.
They call themselves forest people.
Wow.
And we hear that. We hear that a lot, so.
Yeah.
Does anybody have the right terminology? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I say forest people, you say forest people, and we're talking about two different entities.
Whatever.
Some consider themselves Sasquatch, and that's what they go by, more the Indian side, right? As we've heard of.
And I know Kenny said that, Kenny Busby, when he was on, he said he doesn't refer to them as a clan.
These are their family.
That's not what his.
Right.
Yeah, but I know out here, and because I'm in, for you don't know, out in the Pacific Northwest, they will refer to their families as clans, and so it's a regional.
And that could be the different regions where the Bigfoot are at. And I had a guest on one of the shows I did. He was from a Native American with one of the northern tribes, the Omaha up in Nebraska, and he said they speak our language. They speak the Omaha language. Well, maybe the ones up there do. Maybe those skunk apes in Florida might speak Seminole.
Yeah, I could try OCO down here, and they'd probably look at me like I got three heads or something, Yeah.
So, I think different regions, they'll adapt to what's going on. So
yeah,
I do too. And Harley just made a comment. I've opened myself up to a whole new world, guys. I thought it was just Bigfoot.
Yeah, well,
Harley. And the reason why you just think that, because you just woken up to the real deal when it comes to the encounters.
What else is real?
Yes.
I always said when Barb starts showing her videos, I was like, elementals. And she was like, what?
I know. I'm like,
what?
what?
I'm telling you, elementals, because she's got stuff you cannot explain that's not Bigfoot related.
Yep.
She's got a plethora of things.
Yeah. Yes. And you know what? And the more that they know now that they're on, I especially that front yard camera or whatever that thing is that lays there every night, they are just all starting to crowd around and watch.
See, that's where I like to use a thermal and see the results.
You know what though? That did not show up on the FLIR.
See, I've heard that
Isn't
before.
That weird? Did not.
That they actually see a Bigfoot and use a thermal and not get a heat signature or an imprint.
But
once again, how do they do that?
Bigfoot, though. We don't know, right?
Do they use some kind of EMF field or energy field? I have no idea, ladies and gentlemen.
Especially if it's a fire elemental, you'd think it would show up at least, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But Gene says, to be honest, the forest people have many names as Santa Claus.
Aw, that's so
Man,
cool.
did you see that video where the kid goes up to his dad and goes, Dad, is Santa Claus real? And he goes, yeah. He was like, BS. He actually said the word. And the father loses his stuff. And he walks over to Alexa. Alexa, is Santa Claus real? Uh-oh.
All I know is that someone has been eating all my cookies.
That's great.
And Alexa responded, no, Santa Claus is not real. And the dad loses his stuff, goes over and rips Alexa and unplugs and smashes it.
Oh, boy.
And the kid starts screaming and crying. You liar!
So since then, they have changed the algorithm to say something else, apparently.
Evidently. I was not expecting that.
Because I was going to say, I thought that they had changed that.
Because
I didn't know
when
that
I saw that, I was like, that's a real video. That's not rehearsed. So, but evidently they did. So, but, this is where Gene and Harley and Logically Insane is to where nobody has standards on what they're calling whatever a phenomenon people are encountering. A lot of people, when they encounter things out in the woods, they automatically assume it's Bigfoot. And when Barb was having all of her encounters and recordings and videos, I was like, you got more than that going on. And, she's got stuff that looks like Ewoks out of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And those little things in robes.
They were,
with the glowing eyes.
Rebecca, those little things were, I have a video. Those little things were back about 2 weeks ago.
I mean,
in a video, it's like, what? Yeah.
I think they're gnomes dressed up in black.
Maybe.
And they got hoods on. I don't know.
Maybe.
Somebody wants to do a show on black-eyed children. I'm like, oh,
that's scary. Is that Christina?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
What is that?
That's just.
She had an experience with it.
Yes. Because I feel like I saw them one night on.
So my mom's coworker had an experience 6 years ago here locally in the county over. And my mom was shook up over it because she was like, because that's when they were showing the specials on shows and everything about that. And I don't want any encounters. I've seen people's testimonial with them, and it messes them up. You know, you thought Bigfoot does things to people or whatever. I mean, this is another realm. So, and this is where I was going to say to Harley, is that there are things out there that you do not understand that exist in our reality and realm. Until you actually encounter these things, and now you're questioning yourself about reality and what is real and not. And then what we're taught is not actually the truth, because we're taught from birth in humankind what is right and wrong, what is real and not real. But when you are experiencing this, you're not on any type of hallucinogens or drugs or alcohol or whatnot, and your insane mind. We got some issues, and science cannot describe or explain these things.
And so is the history books.
Yes.
Yeah.
So absolutely. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what do y'all have anything else to add?
Well, tomorrow, I just want everybody to know tomorrow, Grizzly and I are going to have Jennifer Appleton and Robin Haynes back. And so if you have any questions on whatever's going on, you know, if you have anything in your house, in your property, anything they do like aliens, paranormal, cryptids, they both are so gifted, but they will tell you if they can't figure it out, but they're both so gifted that they will give you almost like an automatic answer.
And they got crucified when they first came out too with their encounters, and they're, you know, and one of them was just like, you know, I can care less if you believe or not.
They both are like,
you know, whatever. You know, if you don't believe me, come out here. And people actually went out there and tested that theory, and they're like, what the hell? You know? So,
BFRO was chased. They left Jen's property. They were scared. They scared them off.
So, Rebecca says she may have encountered black-eyed children. Or standing.
I didn't, you know what? I didn't mention that. I'll have to talk to you. I don't know. I might have to.
Yeah, Brian's got the C word too.
Oh, you know what you need?
Take some ivermectin.
That's what Chris told me, wasn't it?
It works. It works. It worked for me.
I watched that video. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot always keep positive energy and people around.
That's
I firm believer in that.
I love it.
And people that don't have black eyes. Just saying.
Yes. Because, and I'll say this, and I won't say anything else, but people will tell you that they know your intentions when you go out in the woods.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yep.
I've heard that.
So, and we got people go out there with firearms and they don't have any problems. They have encounters, and then they got people that go out with firearms and they don't have nothing. So there's something that it's unexplainable. So
So Mike and Barb, are you gonna make a quick visit Monday?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna be at school with the basketball tournament, but I'll try to get away and get my classroom.
Or if anything, get me your questions and I can read your questions on air. If not, or you can make a quick video if you would like to.
Okay.
Whatever works.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be there. Talk about the time or whatever. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right.
Yeah, definely.
Right.
So for all the audio listeners that's listening to this the next day, once again, if you have any encounters or you want to come forward, you know how to get a hold of everybody on the panel, Barb, Chris, and Mike. They got their own shows, or you can come on this show or whatever show, and we'll support you and try to help you out.
Yeah.
And Harley, we'll definitely get back with you sometime this week or this weekend and try to figure out everybody's schedule and your schedule and get you lined up. So
bingo, be great.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
All right. From coast to coast and around the world, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Godspeed.